Hello, and welcome to What Moves Us, the podcast where we ask, what moves us? Or more accurately, what's going to move us in future?
We look at debates, themes, and decisions of the minute that will impact on the way we get about in the future.
Hello, and welcome to What Moves Us. I'm Liam Henderson. No Johanna today, but instead we have another representative from Scotland, Hayden Sutherland. We were at Rail Live last week in Madrid, so I thought we'd have a conversation about the things that we heard. So continue listening. Hello, I'm Liam Henderson, and today I'm speaking from London. And on the line with me today, I have
Hayden Sutherland. I'm calling you from near Glasgow in sunny Scotland today.
excellent. Thanks for joining us, Hayden. Hayden and Liam obviously have a long history of doing different bits of work together and seeing each other. But we're speaking today because we were together last week in Madrid. Sunny but freezing cold Madrid.
It was, wasn't it? It was, but I'll say it was great to spend some time with you and work and socialize together. Obviously, mainly it was a work do from a corporate perspective and a company accounting perspective, but we did have a little bit of enjoyment as well on the side.
Right, nice caveats there. Yes, we were at Rail Live Madrid, which is, I've been going to this event. Actually, we did a podcast on it last year, for 2 years now, and it brings together the community of railway suppliers. And this year it wrapped in a commercial aspect to do with operations. So all a good time.
Yeah, the event takes place over 3 days, Wednesday the 26th to technically Friday the 28th. Although the main bits that we're involved with in Rail Live is on way to the 26th and Thursday the 27th. For those who don't know, it used to be the World Passenger Festival as well, that youth festival for quite some time was in Amsterdam. Then for 2 years moved to Vienna. They have merged the World Passenger Festival and Rail Live all in one event together in Madrid, and that was last week. So it was a coming together of people with sort of big sort of industrial rail technology and rail suppliers, along with more innovative startups, digital technology, communications and marketing and commercial. It was a heady mix of everybody who was anybody in the European rail industry.
Right, that is the advert over.
Okay, but I have to say, looking back over last week, it was a very enjoyable and intense learning experience, a great chance to meet, network, and also learn as I went as well. So I really got an awful lot from it.
Now, you were one of the main MCers because LinkedIn is covered of pictures of you with panels, super panels, special guests, and keynotes. So tell us about what you were doing.
So I attend Rail Live, and I'm a host slash chair on one of their tracks. Actually, for those who don't know, there's different presentation areas around the periphery of the event, the huge hall. And I was a host on not just one, sometimes I darted across onto other tracks as well. And on the end of the first day, on Wednesday the 26th, I hosted the end of day keynote with some different people. So during the Wednesday, I was on track 3 about digital transformation and technology, and then going across to the main keynote where I had all the chief execs, so 4 chief execs from Spanish rail, metro and underground metro and tram. 4 of those, some really good chief execs who gave some real good insight. And then I was back into track 3 on Thursday, and then across with you on track 6, the commercial work stream. So in total, I spent 2 full days at Rail Live hosting, presenting, and chairing, and asking lots and lots of great questions of some great people. that was quite. I was quite tired by the end of it.
Oh, yes. And hungry, I remember.
Thank you very much. For those that don't, I should actually say, at one point I was getting a bit hangry, and Liam went and bought me a huge protein-filled baguette and a roll sandwich and everything that kept the hangry wolves at bay. Thanks for that, Liam.
No problems. Gotta keep my contacts happy. So my role there was I was representing one of the companies in the rail innovation community on the startup area. And then I did the emceeing for track 6. Actually, it was really interesting doing that because the section of presentations, one of them was about a small technical issue that had taken 10 years to solve. I was like, how on earth did you have commitment for that? And this was Oslo's airport train Flytoget, and an issue of allowing customer accounts to, if they use contactless with a credit card or if they booked in advance with a credit card, which went through 2 different systems, unifying those so they actually had the customer account was in the same place. For some reason, it's taken 10 years for them to find a technical fix for that. So
Sometimes it's getting a new perspective from somebody or somebody who's done it before and seen it done elsewhere. So I think that's a great thing when you just talk to people and somebody who's solved something in a slightly different way, and you get the chance to discuss something quite openly.
yes, so it was good. But we can't obviously talk about last week without raising the buzzword of 2025, agents. Hayden, have you got an agent?
Have I got an agent? I don't. I mean, right. Yeah. Artificial intelligence and agentic AI was really a huge topic in the more technology-focused tracks from Rail Live last week. Lots and lots of presentations. I was hosting one, as you mentioned, a super panel of 7 different European industry experts on the topic, from Renfe, the Spanish operator, through to sort of through to Accenture and different, and Talgo, the operator. Lots and lots of different people on my panel, the super panel, where we talked about AI and agentic AI, but not just, oh, wouldn't it be good? But about the actual benefits it comes from a value perspective, from a cost and efficiencies perspective, and a customer experience perspective. So it was people who'd actually done it and used it. That was the super panel. So that was myself and 7 others, 8 people in total on stage, talking about AI and its benefits. So it was a real good cross section of people who'd actually been there, seen it, and done it to a certain extent. Yeah, that was great. The other one was towards the end of the second day, was all around talking about the same sorts of topic, but more around chatbots. So they're agentic and chatbots, including people from SNCF Voyages and Arriva Rail in the UK. So yes, lots of discussions about it. It wasn't just, oh, wouldn't it be nice to have? It's people who are actually doing something and addressing the key challenges they've had, from the different use of large language models through to how they scale up their AI technology. Valuable for those in the audience, I think.
Yes. I think given that a lot of our audience on this podcast may be startups or small digital companies, I felt when I was walking around listening to that, it's very difficult to work out actually what the rail customers were looking to buy, because they were effectively, from my observation, a lot of them were putting agentic technology on top of their existing platforms and either using it for customer interaction,
Yeah,
or not. But if you're a small supplier, is where are the opportunities, or what actually does the market need from the agentic technology wave? Or
yeah. So those who don't know, I mean, obviously, everybody talks about AI and agentic AI. Just to clarify, AI is one thing, as in a big load of memory that's turned everything in and processed it and tries to make sense of it. An agent is something that is human facing, that acts on a human and customer side behalf and goes off and does various tasks, either in real time or slightly delayed, and goes off and does those tasks and comes back and says either it's done them or it hasn't, whatever it is. Now, we can talk a little later about when an agentic AI or an AI agent is useful and when it's not. I have my own hypothesis on when an agent is useful and when it's less useful. And I'm just in the process of crafting a sort of diagram to explain a little more because I'm tech, talking boxes and arrows, as you know.
Yes. Well, we did have this discussion on the way to the airport where we were imagining a table.
Yes. I mean, we're talking about that. Agentic AI is currently it's in its early days. I mean, it's only been about really as a term really for a year, less than a year or so. And in our opinion, my opinion, your opinion, an agent is perhaps good at doing things that are less complex right now, and giving you some options back. For example, do you want to buy the blue t-shirt or the green t-shirt? And coming back simply if it knows your size and says, do you want to get it now? The problem comes in when you want to say, I want a super hyper flexi return via Manchester, or getting the bus at the end, please, at the same time. And I want to go on Thursday. And I want a seat that's facing the other way with a power socket. Or if there isn't one, can I sit near the door, please? You can see I'm already constructing a very complex scenario query for the agent, and then for it to come back with 32 different options and to recite those back, even just the ones it's found, by the time it gets to 6, your short-term memory's already forgotten what number 1 was already. So and to verbally describe to verbally describe back isn't a good thing for a more complex product. Um, it's an added dimension when you set an AI agent off to go and buy something more expensive. Because if you give a person to go off and buy something and it spends hundreds of pounds on your behalf and it's the wrong thing, again, you're in a bit of a pickle. So there is a graph that says complexity up one axis and price along the other. The more you go into that top right-hand corner, so to speak, the less likely you are to want to use agent AI, in our opinion. So if I'm absolutely honest, that's our hypothesis right now. But I think we'd need to prove out which one of those axes you need to sort of look at agentic AI. Where's the sweet spot for it, and where does it start to become less useful to the human? But sorry, I whittled on a bit there, but does that explain where I think we're going?
Yes. I mean, we had this conversation last week, so I understand what you're saying because we were talking about it. I think just to ground that in experience for people is a lot of the examples last week were using conversational interfaces with agents. So you'd talk to an agent either through the phone or your other voice assistant, and then it would come back and answer your question, which is fine if you want to say, I'm going to Bristol. Is there a toilet in Bristol? Yes, no. Or yes, on platform 6. But yes, in your ticketing example, is reciting back all those things is very difficult. And you almost have to which is funny because that is what the best case of agents is being used for, is to remove that pain of buying complicated tickets and let the agent do it for you. But you'd have to prompt the agent with so much information and caveats and then trust it to buy the right thing. And I certainly know that when I rely on a system, I know the rail network better, so I will always want to buy the thing I want to buy.
Yeah.
And then we have the complication, as I was having with you, is if you imagine currently work, even if you were doing this in a chat interface on your laptop or whatever. When you use ChatGPT or something, it comes back to you with text or a table. Whereas when you actually buy tickets, you need that graphic thing with like a big price point, and then what's the difference between this one and this one, and how do they interact? And that graphic layout that I don't think is available from an agent yet.
Well, we spend an awful lot of time in the online rail booking and transport booking industry trying to craft the best user experience that tries to explain complex things and make them as simple as possible. Then what we're going to do is going to say, right, I'm going to give you back a table at the best or at the worst. I'm going to start recite 16 different versions of the slightly different ticket. And expect you to remember what it is that I've told you those. Just for those who don't know, I mean, if we talk a little bit about sort of human memory, just a quick bit. You remember the old parlor game of the tray with all the different objects on it that grandma used to have, and then used to cover it over and then ask you to remember one of those, all those different things that were on the tray. On average, your brain will remember 7 things. It's kind of like the generation game. If those who are old enough to remember the generation game, you could remember 7 things plus the cuddly toy that were on there or whatever it was. People, after about 7 or 8, people's memory, short-term memory, very quickly can't remember what else there is. So if you give somebody 7 pieces of information, if you've given them another one and another one, they're less likely to remember what the first one was. It's why when telephone numbers went from 9 digits to 10 digits, a lot of people forgot their own telephone number. Short-term memory is not great. It's good for small things, like things that are on your hand, number of 5 things, but you give them 10 things to remember, they can't. So give them 10 pieces of data coming back, and a lot of people won't remember what you got told. So a conversational interface is not great, and a visual interface is far better. The only problem is if you've got a chat interface and you're talking with it, like when you're driving or when you're literally on the train and you want to get the next train and you want to say, can you book it ahead? That's not a great user interface, and you might have to use a combination of the two. As I said, the more complex the product, the less likely you are to trust an agent to do that for you. But yeah. Perhaps we should do a bit of research, Liam, and find out where people start to sort of fade off and fall off when they come with trusting agents. Perhaps that's a useful piece of research to do.
I think that is a very useful piece of research. I think there's already probably some reveal preference, but not necessarily the agent, but for the price point, because again, we always come back to the example. People are quite happy using contactless payments for metro systems because they know the most fares ever going to be is, 10, 15 pounds.
Yeah.
Where people are really, really hesitant to use contactless on national rail because the maximum fare could be 980 pounds.
Yeah. And yeah, it's kind of about gambling, what you're prepared to lose or what you're prepared to make a mistake with. I could make a mistake with buying a ticket that was a difference of £5. But if I was to give it my total account and say, go and buy me an airfare, go and find me the cheapest airfare to, I don't know, New York from Glasgow, would I trust it with 3, 4, 5, 6, £700 worth of flight to make book for me? I might want to do it myself, if only the fact that I might just want to have a little bit more trust. I might not trust it to do that, and if it was wrong, getting refunds is even worse. So maybe we have to look at the terms and conditions of refund of things that are bought differently with humans and agents. Maybe the refund policy might have to be changed.
Yes. Good luck with that one. Good.
I didn't book it, my agent did. Yeah, but your agent booked it on your behalf. Yeah, but it was having a hallucination day that day.
Yes.
Can I have my money back, please?
Well, it brings us on to 2 more items which came up, and they were pushed into the public debate last week, but I think I'm certainly not sure of the answers to these 2 things. One is we rely, if you're in the case of an agent or in the case of outsourcing systems, is for people have intuitive knowledge of a system, and that always influences the way they buy things. If you just do it based on the data available in an agent or a conversational AI, that system has to rely on what it can find, which is not the same as what you already know because you kind of know the system.
Yes.
Whether that's I like this train company or I know the main station in Edinburgh is actually called Waverley, not Edinburgh.
Yeah.
You sort of pick up these life experiences which your
Yes.
agent won't have. And that then comes to many other things. We just implicitly know a journey on an intercity train is probably nicer because it's just got more facilities.
Yeah. It's
But
better. It looks better out the window, and this is more
Yeah.
scenic, so to speak. Yes.
But those data feeds are not presented in a way that is useful to an agent. We know that some companies are developing those. And then the other point is, with all this interface, this is the world where you seem to be more expert on than me, is actually the data flows between organizations to allow this world of seamless travel. Because I tend to focus on the world of seamless travel from the customer point of view, but there is a whole back-end systems that need to facilitate and talk to each other across all the modes and across countries.
Oh, well, I kind of think, are they really two sides of the same coin? One is sort of the data and the quality of that you use to train your AI on. So in other words, do you trust it from do you use trusted data sources? Do you use modern data sources that it can go and get more updates quickly? Or, yeah, okay, AIs integrate far easier to integrate with than, shall we say, text files or those sorts of things, and the quality of those. I think that's all part of it. An awful lot of people, especially in the transport world, still haven't got their act together as far as data quality and the modernization of their data. So, as I say, an API means you can sort of eat little bits at a time, nibble about the data, and get up to frequent updates on it, rather than sort of huge sort of fire hose or lots of text files and that sort of stuff. So data and integration and data sources, the amount of data, the richness of data, and the quality of that data, and how they're integrated, it's all one related topic. And I am still seeing huge amounts of legacy systems, some back-end systems that are not API first, or modern ways of getting that data, or even some data are still beyond use. The rail sector is improving, and I'm going to give a big shout out to my RDG pals on the rail data marketplace, because that thing is huge. It's growing exponentially in the amount of data sources and the amount of people it's connecting. It's really true, really proving to be a huge asset across the rail sector. But there's still an awful lot of data that is in different standards, in different formats, done by different people in different ways, updated in different manners, all over the place. And it's not joined up and consistent as well. So, sorry, that is, in my opinion, that's what I've seen. That's my experience. And we're doing well, but we're not doing great yet.
Yes. So is there, I mean, I know the answer to this, but I'm prompting you for the answer. Is there work going on to establish standards for data in rail?
There are what? The rail is full of standards, and is there consistency in those to a certain extent? No, and especially making sure it's aligned with um, with other modes of transport as well. Um, that sort of I'm a key one on implementing some new standards. My OpenTransport work, where we're talking about smart data in the transport sector, but still different. And it's not just the transport sector. We describe things in a different way in the transport sector to how different sectors describe things. A road, for example, where a tram goes over the top, is described by a tram company in one way in data, is described by a civil engineering company as a different way. It's described by a bus company in a different way, and depending on which country you're from, it can have a different format there. So, are we ever going to get to a complete standardization? Perhaps not. But I think an awful lot of people are seeing the value now in becoming translators between one format to another, one way of describing it. We talk about smart cities, in the smart city sector, which is different from the transport sector, but we all use the same geography and we all have different ways of describing it. So there is a huge, sometimes perhaps there is still going to be a need for translators of those data between sectors, because you're not going to have one data model to rule them all across every single sector. A transaction in rail bookings is in one format, but a transaction that relates to a bank account, it needs a different set of data and a different sort of data model behind it. So translators are needed across our sectors to make sure we have cross-sector interoperability. So I didn't answer to say, do we have one standard? I don't ever think we're going to get to one standard, because as soon as you start to look at this with the data from a different perspective, kind of like cutting up an orange, really. If you cut it from a different way, the orange looks very different. It looks like segments or whatever it is. It looks very different depending on the way you cut that orange. And I think different sectors are cutting the data in different ways. The translation comes in understanding it's an orange.
Right. And is it orange?
Yes.
Right.
Yes. It is.
Right. So you do have optimism from the things you've learnt last week that the industry is getting a handle on these things.
Oh, I think it's slowly but surely. I think the UK is one of those that's actually kind of leading the way. I know that there are others, like countries like the Baltics, Estonia, hugely amazing forward, and in the Nordics, you've got they've got a huge sort of drive towards sort of standardization across multiple modes of transport. They're doing good stuff, great stuff, and they're leading the way. Other countries and other markets are behind, but I think the UK is getting its act together data wise, and that is really useful, because we're going to get more into this agent AI world where you're going to have multiple agents to go and do multiple things, and they're going to need to be trained or go and look up these data sources. They're going to need to want to go off and get those. So really, it's not going to be who's got the best agent in the future, who's got the best data behind those agents and they're fueling those. Market competitiveness may be who's got the best and more robust and trustworthy data sources behind the scenes, rather than who's got the best shiny agent right now, in my opinion.
Yes. And I just go back to the front end of that. It's funny how my memory, one of the questions that I had, which I found unfathomable, was a couple of the larger state-owned operators in continental Europe were building agents, were talking about how good their agents were because they'd linked up all their back-end systems to sell through journeys. But they were only selling journeys on their own trains.
Yes.
The European regulation that requires them to accept other people's trains onto their network, they're not selling tickets for those. So you're effectively saying, come to us if you want to buy these tickets. But if you actually want a full picture of all the trains available, we're almost forcing you to go to a third-party retailer.
Yeah. Or phone up, or hang on a second, I'm contacting a human now, which is the whole point. Really, sort of, yeah. One of the comments was, I'll be just training the agents to say, hang on, I'm getting a human for you. I think we're a bit on from that, but you're right. You are limited to the sources and the data you've got. And and hopefully not by regulation, people don't end up building all these little different siloed agents that can only do one little half a use case, let alone a whole use case. You're right. We may be restricting ourselves in the future, but it's the sources we have, the richness of data behind it, and the quality of those behind it. So I guess Hayden's take out is, don't limit your agent by just limiting the data behind it.
Yes.
Which was kind of where it took us, really, sort of, those conversations last week. A lot of people we even had a live demo from SNCF Voyages, actually phoning up their agent it was Damien, who's their head of innovation and AI. He's phoned up his agent via the telephone with the mic on the stand, phoned it up. He was speaking in English with a French accent to a French bot speaking back to him in English, agent speaking back to him in English, and it booked him, and he was quite, I would say, flippant and conversational with it, and it still got it. I think you had to repeat one thing once, but from a live demonstration from the event, it's pretty impressive actually. And it didn't get to the point of making the transaction, but he got the information he needed. But you're right. I think that some of the information it had coming back to him some of those things might have been limited purely on what it had behind the scenes to tell him. But yeah, early days, but good days. And this is where innovation has a part to play, because people are going to start trialing and using different data sources to try and get the richest bots they can. We're in a good place right now, actually. We're in that sort of fertile crescent of innovation for agent right now, and I think that's a good place to be.
Yes. Okay. I can't let us go without admitting that we did have some of our own little boo-boos with transport in Madrid, as you and I ended up running down a street because we couldn't understand the metro.
Yeah, we got on the Madrid metro not knowing we had to go on 3 different lines to get from our hotel to the event. And my Consortico Transportes Madrid the card that I used, I bought the through ticket all the way through, but then we had to come up because one line was off and there was a bus replacement. So you and I ran it rather than got the bus replacement. By the time we got back down again, the cards wouldn't work because we had exited the metro too early. And then we had to go and find a very nice lady who didn't speak English, and our schoolboy Spanish was just got us through by bits of pointing at receipts and speaking in schoolboy Spanish, and we just about got to the event on time. So yeah, sometimes it works. Sometimes you do need a human in the mix, and I was lucky that that lovely lady was there to help us. Well, you found her eventually, and we got to the event and just got on the train in time, on the metro in time, just to get there. So yeah, that was my step camp for the day as well. So thank you, Lynn. That was great. Would I go back to rail life? Possibly, hopefully, yes. I think if it's going to be, it's going to break on. But there's also a UK version of that taking place in Birmingham next year. A UK.
Yes, more details come on that, but we are partnering with them. The Rail Innovation Group is partnering with that UK Rail event or the Startup Zone. So we will be doing a meetup there and hosting the Startup Zone. So more details to come on that. So just before we part, Hayden, if you had one top tip to give a startup or a digital company based on what you're now learning, what would that top tip be?
The agent and the AI sector is more mature than you think it is right now. Just doing the very, very basics and half an MVP is not going to cut it anymore. So my advice is data, data, data. Find out the best data sources you can, the richest data sources, the most trustworthy, the clearest data sources you can, and use those. If you haven't, I know that there are companies now that are specializing in data and the, should we say, creating pipelines of data and that sort of stuff. I would talk to those. And also share best practice. There's various different reports out now. For example, lots of reports out there. Some reports coming out that are showing what's best practice and how AI can be used in rail. I would read those before you just go off and venture. And if anybody knows, I'm going to try and pull together a list of experts in the sector, sort of the AI in rail. RAIL, I think I was going to call it.
Rail.
Rail, AI in rail, and try and get a sort of a list of people together who are the European and cross-sector, so cross-markets experts and that. So contact me and I'll try and include you on that and try and get best practice and share wherever possible. The world is going very, very quickly right now. Just simple one data source or two data sources presented from one mode might not cut it anymore.
Good. Right. Great encouraging words. I will see you soon.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me, Liam, and I'll speak to you all soon.
All right. Thanks for joining us, Hayden. Thanks for listening to another episode of What Moves Us. We hope we moved you. For more episodes, you'll definitely want to subscribe to our channel.
Until next time.